Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I forgot to upload something on here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh no, that's not what I want. Good morning, good morning. Come on in the room. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's good to see y'all. Welcome. Come on in the room. Good morning, good morning. I'm sorry. Let me say y'all's names. Good morning, Raquel and Joel over on YouTube. Good morning, Tracy, Angel, Natasha. Good morning, Chelsea, Margaretta, Yolanda, Lori, Jay, Tracy, Lynn, Angel, T-Ree. Hey, Winner, Jamie, Deborah. Hey, Sarah. Hi, Aset. What a powerful name. Good morning, Melinda. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. So I do have a few announcements this week. Good morning to our new folks. So let me say, welcome, 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 welcome to the Pink Robe Chronicles. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome to you. I am Melva L. Sampson. I'm the curator and creator of this spiritual gathering that serves as a type of digital hush harbor where we tell the truth, ashe, and share our wisdom. Immediately following this cast, this live stream, we head over to a private Zoom, which is our subscription community. I placed the link in the chat for those of you who might be interested in joining. If you do join, if you could just inbox me or send me an email at drmelvasampson at gmail.com, melvasampson@gmail.com, so that I can get you the link. I have been up, y'all. I have been up. Announcements. After the clearing, we're headed over to the Blackest Church in Shelby County in Memphis, to Abyssinian Missionary Baptist Church, where the pastor is the Reverend Dr. Earl Fisher, and alongside his partner, Sister Denise Lloyd Fisher. We are going over there just in a real heads up, vulnerable moment. I was in a vulnerable share space, and I want to be free. That's where I am. I want to be free, and I don't want to do anything other than that. Hold on, y'all. Thank you, Pam. Wait, y'all, this is new, so hold on. It's different from the other one I had, but I think I don't want to accidentally end the live. This isn't doing right. Okay, I think this is going. All right, there we go. Ooh, that's good. Thank you, Dana Molds, for my stand, and thank you, Pamela Cook, for my mini stand. I appreciate you both for hearing my cry and recognizing my overwhelm. Thank y'all so much. So we'll be going over to Abyssinian's Facebook page. Let me find that real quick and drop it in the chat for us. You could also ABC Abyssinian. There we go. I'm gonna drop Abyssinians in the chat. For those of you, if you are on YouTube, I'm sure they have a YouTube page. One second though, let me find it for you. Okay, I just pasted the link for Abyssinian on the Facebook chat. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on YouTube. Also, for those of you who are on YouTube but who also use Facebook, and then you could just check Abyssinian Missionary Baptist Church here in Memphis, Tennessee, to see if they have a YouTube page. Okay, all right. Good morning, Ardella and LaWonder. Good morning, Devon, all the way from Bahrain, cause we is international. Good morning. Another announcement is for those of you attending the Samuel Dewitt Proctor Conference this week coming. I'd love to see you in the session, the special session, Sisters of the Rock, where legacy meets future. Where myself, Reverend Dr. Mama Yvonne Delk, and Reverend Dr. Jacqueline Thompson will be together in conversation. It is a very practical session where we will talk and hopefully leave you with some tools to be able to use and engage and do work and do it in your own setting. Ashe, yes. Also, I'm going to put this up again, but because I didn't load the one for Sunday. So I'm just putting this up there, but now that you've seen it, let me say, if those of you who are going to be at the Proctor Conference on Sunday, 1 week from today, the Proctor Conference is hosting a viewing of the Smithsonian's National Museum for African American History and Culture of their first feature-length documentary, God Talk. It is at the Malcolm X. I'll post it again. It is on my timeline. Actually, I could go look now. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, I just forgot to upload it. It is being held at the Malcolm X College, 1900 West Jackson Boulevard in Chicago, Illinois. It begins at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Actually, doors open at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. It begins at 4 p.m. And includes Q&A. So the movie is pretty lengthy. It's about 2 hours and 30 minutes. And then there'll be a Q&A at 6:30. I will be on the panel. Kim Moore will be on the panel. Director and writer Kim Moore will be on the panel. And Teddy Reeves, Demetrius Davis, and Jameer Trapp will be on the panel for a talkback. So this again is the Proctor Conference's viewing of the screening of the documentary God Talk. If you've not had an opportunity to view it yet, it will be screened the Sunday before the start of the Proctor Conference, which means that we will not be having Pink Robe Chronicles on next Sunday, nor the clearing, as I will be in the air making my way to Chicago. Ashe. I believe those are all of the announcements that I have right now. Good morning to all of you that I have not had an opportunity to say good morning to. Hello, Smoky Cupcake. Hey, Dana. Good morning. Good morning, Kim. Okay, so last week was so very powerful that I struggled as to whether to move on or to go back to that Hebrews 13, to seeing it in the distance from tell them we are rising. And also it was a struggle because I am preaching. I did record a sermon just this morning for Abyssinian, and ethically I did not want to share the sermon that I preached for, that someone else commissioned with my community first. I wanted to really bad, but for me it's not good ethics. So I have not. Thank you, Devon. Thank you, thank you. And so I considered going back. However, this is Transfiguration Sunday, and it is one of my favorite I don't know if it's my favorite scripture, but it's one of my favorite moments in scripture, I guess, to talk about. And so I want to, engage and have some conversation with you all around this text. Excuse me, y'all. I do not say this as a brag at all, because it is not. It's actually problematic that I have not slept. It's a big problem. It's not a hype me up. It's not a brag or anything. It's a big problem. And a lot of the reason so much so that I typed this wrong. It says, I'm the presence of our ancestors. That's not what it should say. It should say, in the presence of our ancestors. That's how sleepy I am. And part of the sleepiness, I'm getting ready to read the text in a second, is staying up all night, wrestling with the text when I'm clearly hearing the Spirit tell me to do something different. Really, and it's not do something different, it is do it the way that you've become comfortable doing it, because this is actually your voice. This is your preaching voice right here, that you have finally come to a place where you are able to handle. Come on. mm, 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 mm. Where you are able to handle the sound of your voice. Whew. Where you are able to handle the tone and the tenor of your voice. My goodness. So preach in that way. And that way may not sound like traditional ways. It may not sound like it sounds when you're on Pink Road Chronicles. And so you've been worried and fearful of how that translates in more traditional settings, when people from traditional settings ask you to come do traditional sermons. And so the wrestle was so strong and so hard, and I was convinced that no, I'm gonna do it like the expectation is. Meanwhile, Francis, meanwhile, right, Natasha, it does still work. Meanwhile, I ended up taking the advice, for those of you who will come over to Abyssinian at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Wait, is that 11 o'clock? I don't know. Y'all just go check to see. Go check. I think it's 11 o'clock Eastern, because they do 10 o'clock. Yeah, 11 o'clock Eastern will hear me talk about a story for a student who had come to my office over last week, and she was struggling. She said she had to preach, and I told her, well, what was the problem? And she said, because the way that Spirit was giving her the sermon was not a traditional way, and that she felt like she would be that she would have to be vulnerable. So I invited her, we'll be vulnerable, only for me to get here at this place and have to, be vulnerable. Now, some of you might say, Melvin, you're vulnerable all the time. I'm vulnerable to a point. I'm vulnerable. I am just vulnerable enough for what I'm comfortable being vulnerable with. Boom. Okay. right? So whatever you see is like I'm comfortable about that level of vulnerability. Certainly there are other kinds of vulnerabilities that I hold that I'm not super comfortable with, nor do I share publicly in this way, and that's healthy. um but today, absolutely feeling all of the vulnerable ways, because y'all, we often always hold, especially preachers and artists, we often always hold them to the last time we experienced them. So if it was good the last time we experienced them, we want it to be just as good this time. We want it to be the same. We want it to be, listen, oh my God, that was fire. That was, I know you gonna lay it down, you gonna, cause you, that's stress. That is stress, and how about let's give room for the spirit to move. I don't know what may have been happening the last time you heard me. I don't know what headspace I may have been on, what was going on in the world. Nevertheless, spirit wants to do what the spirit needs to do. So Ashe. And in doing that, in preaching that sermon, because I didn't want to, because I was requested to preach there, it's not fair for me to preach that here at Pink Road Chronicles before, the community that invited me to preach. That's not okay. So I want to read the text this morning. It is a familiar text with this community, and I'm going to talk about it in a very similar way that I have in the past. Shout out to Dr. Brianna Parker for asking the question this week, who remembers when MAC Cosmetics Chestnut Brown Pencil and Ooh Baby Lip Gloss had us in a chokehold. And I was like, God, remember, boo, I just re-upped last month. Boom, here go my Ooh Baby. Period. I want to read the text this morning found in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 9, verses 2 through 9. And I'm going to feel my way through it. I'm just feel my way through it. Mark chapter 9, verses 2 through 9. 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John and led them up a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. And his clothes became dazzling white, such as no one on earth could bleach them. And there appeared to them Elijah with Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. So let us make 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. He did not know what to say, for they were terrified. And then a cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud there came a voice. This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him. Suddenly, when they looked around, they saw no one with them anymore, but only Jesus. And as they were coming down the mountain, he ordered them to tell no one what they had seen until after the Son of Man had risen from the dead. Now, this is the lectionary. I want to go up and read. I'm not going to really touch this, but just for context, I want to read 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. I'm going to stay with Mark, but I want to read 2 Kings. Now, when the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven by a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were on their way from Gilgal. I don't think I ever paid attention. I'm sure I've never paid attention to Gilgal. Wonder if it's the same Gilgal, the hill where Jesus died, was murdered. Okay. Elijah said to Elisha, stay here, for the Lord has sent me as far as Bethel. But Elisha said, as the Lord lives and as yourself live, I will not leave you. So they went down to Bethel. And the company of prophets who were in Bethel came out to Elisha and said to him, do you know that today the Lord will take your master away from you? And he said, yes, I know. Keep silent. Elijah said to him, Elisha, stay here, for the Lord has sent me to Jericho. But he said, as the Lord lives and as yourself live, I will not leave you. So they came to Jericho. The company of prophets who were at Jericho drew near to Elisha and said to him, do you know that today the Lord will take your master away from you? And he answered, yes, I know, be silent. Then Elijah said to him, "Stay here, for the Lord has sent me to Jordan." But he said, "As the Lord lives, and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So the two of them went on. 50 men of the company of prophets also went and stood at some distance from them, as they both were standing by the Jordan. Then Elijah took his mantle and rolled it up and struck the water, and the water was parted to the one side and to the other, until the two of them crossed on by dry ground. And when they had crossed, Elijah said to Elisha, "Tell me what I may do for you before I am taken." And Elisha said, "Please let me inherit a double share of your spirit." He responded, "You have asked a hard thing. Yet if you see me as I'm being taken from you, it will be granted you. If not, it will not." And as they continued walking and talking, a chariot of fire and horses of fire separated the two of them, and Elijah ascended in a whirlwind into heaven. Elisha kept watching and crying out, "Father, Father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen." But when he could no longer see him, he grasped his own clothes and tore them into two pieces. Ashe, word of God for the people of God. So this Elijah in chapter 9 of the Gospel of Mark is the same Elijah that we find Jesus engaged with. And so I just want us to converse. Yes, Natasha, I agree that I am my ancestors, or in the presence of my ancestors. I want us to talk about what it means to be in the presence of our ancestors. In the presence of our ancestors. Ashe. I, along with a cohort of people, have been engaging in ancestral healing work. There is a book that is not in front of me now, but it is called Ancestral Healing. I'm looking around to see if maybe it is down here. It is called Ancestral Healing. In this book, and the name of the author escapes me, but the author is a white man, to be clear, who has done his work, who has clearly done his work. We were led in a session by Dr. Velma Love and Brother Stephen Lewis, and another brother whose name escapes me right now, and doing this healing work, and the conversation or the work was around healing our ancestral line. In doing this particular kind of work, we were, thank you, Monica, by Daniel Ford. Yes. In doing this work, the question, and because I've read from this book before, the question for us is that we were in search of ancestors who are healed. Ancestors who are healed. Many of us, or those who are novice to ancestral veneration, begin calling names of, as soon as a person transitions, we begin to identify them as an ancestor, which is not the case, right? We give no space or room for a person to actually make their journey through the spirit realm, and if they reach the ancestral realm as a well ancestor, if they reach the realm of wellness where they are a well being and are able to assist in the healing of the lineage. Meaning that because the belief that when one never dies as long as one's name is often called. However, because one's name is called does not mean that an ancestor is well. Whoo, child, let me move around in my seat here. Melvin, what you talking about? Like, what you talking about, Willis? What you talking about? Yes, Daniel 4 helps us to understand that our ancestors require healing just as we need healing. And when an ancestor is unhealed, then they interrupt the healing in the line. And when healing in the line is interrupted, then it holds us up on the journey. the brother who aided us in this journey, gave such a beautiful visual of this work. And so myself and others who are doing the sacred memory work, before we could do the sacred memory work, we are going along the journey on ourselves, making sure that we are engaged. Also, what I found interesting is that there are some ancestors who are well, but we're not well. There are some who have journeyed, who have made it to the ancestral realm, who are well, who are willing to assist us in our lives on this side of time. But because of our dealings with them, because we are unable to see them in their healed state, we are only ever able to see them in maybe the fractured state they were in on this side of time. Hence, as a result, they are unable to fully aid us and assist us with the things that we need assistance with, because we keep them at bay. Y'all don't hear me talking today. That is because we refuse to see them as healed. We refuse to acknowledge the work that they've done on the other side. Hence, we keep ourselves at bay, we keep them at bay, and there's never any movement on the ancestral line. Then there are some of you who are viewing for whom this conversation might be a little spicy. This conversation about ancestors for you has you kind of moving around because you've been socialized to believe that this word is problematic. You've been socialized to see this word as antithetical to your practice, to your belief. Particularly, I'm speaking to if you are Christian now. That someone said to you that veneration, which is an honor, only belongs to God. Only belongs to God, and for some of you it belongs to Jesus, but never to those in your family who lived a particular way, who venerated, who healed, who were activists, who organized, who held particular gifts. That there is a problem for us to acknowledge and or venerate those in our bloodline and those beyond our bloodline in a particular way. But friends, this text this morning, might I add, is about ancestors. Yeah, it is. It's about ancestors. Verse 2 says, and 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John and led them up a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. He was transfigured before whom? He was transfigured not only before Peter, James, and John, but the text says that when he got there appeared Elijah and Moses, his ancestors. Elijah and Moses were Hebrew people. They were of not just the Jewish culture, but of the Jewish faith. They were forerunners to Jesus. And that it is not until Jesus gets up to this mountain that he is what? Transfigured. Come on in here today. Okay? You ready? We together? So, when we think about transfiguration, people, so in this sense, his clothes are transformed and they become bright, white and radiant, so that Jesus can be seen. He comes into himself. But I want to talk a little bit about what transfiguration means. Transfiguration means a complete change of form. A complete change of form or presence, and that this complete change of form or presence shifts one into a more beautiful or spiritual state. That to be transfigured is to totally shift, to make a complete change in appearance, into a more spiritual state. So Jesus was transfigured during a conversation with his ancestors. Jesus is changed. Jesus shifts into a more spiritual state after a conversation with his ancestors. Well, Melva, why does this happen? Because our ancestors always, those who are well are desiring to work on our behalf and to heal the lineage. Jesus had a purpose to fulfill. The ancestors are helping Jesus to fulfill his purpose through a conversation that we're not privy to, but we know that there is one that is being had. Hold on. Let me go back to the text. Before their eyes, he is shifting. Elijah's mentor, Elisha, was also taken up. So that when Elijah becomes an ancestor and is taken up, just as Moses is taken up, the suggestion is that they are well enough. Yes, Raquel, you already in it. that they are shape shifters, that they are shifting Jesus's reality. Dr. E.T. Hari talks about it like this in by way of time, about how our ancestors, and some of you have heard this example plenty of times before, but I will share it again. How our ancestors, if you think of a clock, if you think of let me see if I can do, y'all know I like a good visual. Now this is going to appear backwards to you in here, so I gotta figure. Okay, so we're right here. Okay, so if you think of a face, right? This is 12, right there where my finger is. Declared. That's noonday. Then going down here is sunset. So 12 moving down to here is, I'm sorry, y'all, sunset. Going up, this is so awkward. Going up, I can't get my finger. Going up, y'all know what I'm trying to say, is sunrise. The whole point that I was trying to make is that Jesus, that ancestors, in what they are unable to complete, the work that they are unable to complete on this side of time is the work that they begin to complete in the next. So whatever an ancestor could not do for you in the sunrise or of their lives, they are able to perform in the sunset. The sunset being in another dimension of time. The sunset, so that on this, as we experience the sunrise on this plane of time, as an ancestor experience, as one has experienced the sunset because they are on the other side of time, what they could not bring together, what they could not make happen, what they were unable to do on this side of time, an ancestor is able to do on the other. Well, Melva, let's walk back to why Elijah, why Moses. Both Elijah and Moses had lived in a particular way where they followed the ordinances the ordinances of God. Both Elijah and Moses followed God. Moses got a little iffy there at the end, but both Elijah and Moses had a divine imperative on their lives. They were examples, forerunners to Jesus. So as Jesus is preparing, as Jesus acknowledges and has already come out into his ministry, and I'm not quite sure, even though, Jesus contends and, talks in these codes. You know what I'm not quite sure of, y'all? I'm not quite sure that Jesus knew that the way that he would experience death, that it would happen like it happened. I believe that Jesus knew that he had a divine imperative on his life, that he would speak truth to power, that he would speak against systems, and broadly speaking, that those who spoke against systems that were calling for death. Yeah. However, I would venture to say that Jesus needs to engage these two ancestors because they have something to give him for the completion and the endure, for him to be able to not only endure but to complete the journey in the presence of my ancestors. Because when we are in the presence of our ancestors, we should never be in the presence of our ancestors and not shift, and not be given the power and or the ability to shape shift, and or not to be given sight. So the text says that here appears to us, to Jesus and Peter and James and John, Elijah and Moses. Peter wants to build them some kind of dwelling. Even though he was terrified, he wanted to make sure that he was building something for them. He wanted to be respectful. But just then this cloud overshadows them, and from the cloud there came a voice saying, "This is my son, the beloved. Listen to him." And suddenly when they looked around, they saw no one with them anymore, but only Jesus. And as they were coming down the mountain, he ordered them not to tell anyone about what they'd seen. So, y'all, transfiguration, this sudden shift, this bezazzled state, spiritual state, for those of us who have relationships, those of us who have solidified relationships with our ancestors, has it been your experience when you attempt, when you are engaging with ancestors, I think one misstep we make is we want to come down off of that mountain and we want to share with everybody that we've been engaging with the ancestors. We are so excited, but to share the news that you have been transfigured as a result of you being in conversation with your ancestors is to then bring a level of attention that it may not be time for you to receive. Jesus does not want anyone to know. He doesn't want it to be told he doesn't want James, John, or Peter to tell what they've seen, because while he may not for sure know what the end looks like, he knows that the end is coming. And he knows that there is more work that needs to be done. That possibly could it be that one role of our ancestors is to shore us up with what is needed to continue our assignment, is to shore us up with what is needed so that we might be able to complete the task. But in order to do that, let's walk back again. And this is why it's important to understand whether or not your ancestors are well. Hence, with the fact that Elijah and Moses show up in this text, I want to suggest that the ancestors are well. Dr. Love and If one of you who is in the cohort remembers the other gentleman's name, please type it. I cannot call his name. I see his face. And Reverend Stephen, talk to us again about this ancestral journey. They invited us to steady ourselves, to ground ourselves, and to go through this process. And the process, part of the process, was for us to go really far back. And these ancestors may be ancestors whose names we know and ancestors whose names we don't know. And in this process, you were to ask an ancestor, are you well? Some of us, number one, struggle because we're not, some of us don't trust the sound of our own voices. I'm gonna veer off for a minute. Let me veer off. Yeah. Some of us don't trust the sound of our own voices. Yeah. We don't trust what we hear. We're waiting for an external voice to speak. We're waiting for thunder and for lightning. We don't trust the embodiment of the Spirit. We don't trust that we know what we know. We don't trust. So when you ask a particular ancestor, are you well? And if the first thing that comes to you is no, then that's the answer. It's not, oh, well, I don't know. Like, I think I heard. Well, I don't, no. It's no, it's an immediate stop. And it is then required, I would suggest that you need to actually now walk with somebody to determine whether it's on you to assist the ancestor with that healing. But I want to talk, I'm talking about well ancestors now. I'm talking about those who want to aid. Elijah and Moses, thank you, Reverend Dr. Earl Fisher, both of the prophetic tradition, are coming to endow Jesus because Jesus is also of the prophetic tradition. Hey, Jesus becomes transfigured in the presence of the prophets because why? Jesus is also a prophet. Jesus is going to retrieve the capacities of Elijah and Moses so that he could continue the work. That when we are in the presence of our ancestors, our goal is to make sure that we are taking, or at least that we are requesting to receive, to be endowed with the capacities of our ancestors. Melva, what do you mean when you say capacities? I mean, what did they do well? What gifts did they have to be able to do the task that they were called to do? What things do we need from them to be able to do the work? Jesus could not go on calling out the empire. Jesus could not go on preaching and teaching and shifting systems, making those who were first last and those who were last first. Jesus could not go on flipping tables in temples. Jesus could not go on in one of the hardest weeks of his life, beginning on the top of the mountain only to end up being lynched. Jesus could not go there without the strength of his ancestors. Absolutely, Earl. His transfiguration is a part of his training. But in order for him to get it and receive it, he has to be comfortable with his own name. Hey, goodness. Jesus has to be comfortable with his own name. Again, you've heard me speak about this before. Mama Sabonfu Somé, in her text, Welcoming the Spirit Home, Intimacy of the Spirit, her former partner, Baba Maladoma Somé, in the Spirit, ritual. Names are escaping me, but in all of those books, They being from the Dagara tribe of Burkina Faso, West Africa, understand that how important a name is. Mama Sabonfu explicitly explains that before we are born, that we make an agreement on the other side about the work we are going to do in this realm. That the elders or the chief listens to the child in utero and asks the child, "What have you come here to do?" So the elders name us then, right? And they don't name us while we're in utero. They're listening, right? And then when you are born, you're not born right away like in the West. You getting your name before you leave the hospital. There is a period of time that you wait so that your identity can come into fruition. So as the elders name us, what they are essentially doing is calling us into alignment with our divine purpose. And when we get out of alignment with our divine purpose, when we get out of alignment with what we agreed to do, it is the ancestors who remind us who we are by calling us up. By calling our name. So you're saying we got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, trusting the transfiguring process, trusting your name. Yes, Chelsea. Yeah. Hence, when you are in the presence of your ancestors consistently, come on, Black Diligence. Come on over to Abyssinian in an hour or so that you can understand what I mean by Black diligence and not Black excellence. Jesus here is being consistent in his pursuit of his purpose. He's not trying to be excellent. He is being diligent in his pursuit. So that when we don't know our name, when we are not in community, in communion with our ancestors, then we seek this external validation. So we get out here and we start seeking validations in systems and people that did not name us and cannot determine the worth, the weight, the capacity, or ability of what we already agreed to be or purpose to do. Here go one of my pastors, Reverend Susan Mitchell. Yes, Dr. Melva, my ancestral altar is inclusive of what they did well. In times of need, I engage the ancestor who has the skill, understanding, character that I require on the journey. Ashe, that's one of my teachers, Reverend Susan Mitchell. Ashe, absolutely. So that as Jesus is moving along on his mission. This is not simply, oh, God called me up to the mountain, so I'm going to go up to the mountaintop here and see what these ancestors got to say. The ancestors, Jesus knows that he needs additional support. And this is what Reverend Susan is talking about. And this is what Mama E.T. Hari is talking about around the reason why we experience so many voids. The reason why we are unable to complete sacred tasks is because we are not calling on the capacities that particular ancestors held. We need those capacities. Capacities is another way of saying wisdom. We need the wisdom. If I am a prophet, then I need the wisdom of the prophetic tradition. Then I need to commune and engage. I need to go up to the mountain. And when I come face to face, or when I engage with my ancestors, there should be a visible change in my spiritual state. My countenance should be different because a transferal has happened. A mantle has been given. Clarity has been provided. A way has been made. And this is what well ancestors do. And then, hey, Dr. Ariel Smith, and then what then does it mean when we're not seeing the fullness of our power fulfilled? I want to say something. I want to say it a little bit more respectful here, because I think, Earl, I don't say it as respectfully in my sermon at 11 o'clock at Abyssinian. We're coming up on the season of Lent, Ash Wednesday. And by the way, that was the announcement I forgot. Dr. Monica has a special code for those of you who are members of our subscription community and the clearing to register with her and journey with her 40 days through the season of Lent. I highly recommend it. Because, see, some of us, we still giving up chocolate. We still giving up meat. We still giving up soda. I acknowledge your attempt at, making these kinds of, disciplinary sacrifices. But I'm also positing that ain't going to get us free. Thank you, Dr. Monica. She put it in the chat right here. If you want to register, that's not what's going to get you power. Yeah. That's like looking in the wrong place. So the possibility of us not seeing the fullness of our power fulfilled is because we're looking to the wrong places, engaging in some different kinds of practices in order to validate what our ancestors are trying to incite or ignite. And can I help you one more? Jesus is an ancestor. Yeah. An ancestor. And every time you say the name Jesus, because if it is in some of our African traditional understandings and ways of knowing and being, that ancestors never die, especially as long as you call their name. And because so many believe that that at the name of Jesus, so many different things happen, that the more you call, then the more power is given. But if you are not engaging, come on, y'all. So here's this, and we already at 9 o'clock, my goodness. So here's this before I head off and go to the clearing. What if you spent the next 40 days with your ancestors? Jesus being one of them. So that you might be reminded of who you are and what you're called to do, so that you yourself can be transfigured. And even as you are transfigured, being transfigured, those who come with you just to bear witness, but not to come down the mountain and tell the world, not to make a post, not to say, hey, this, no. What if you spent these next 40 days not giving up chocolate, all of the things, unless you just feel that's a part of your journey, and said, who are you? Who is your Elijah? Who is your Moses? Who are your well ancestors? What if you spent time beginning, allowing yourself, closing your eyes and just asking for a guide, asking if there is a guide who will assist you, and when that guide comes, when the ancestor comes, simply saying, are you well? And if there is not one who's well, you go to the next. And when you find that well one, what if you spent time listening? And it's okay for you to have a journal and a pen, or being able to type on your phone what you hear. What you hear is being downloaded for your records, because what I'm thinking it's going to happen for you is that they're going to remind you of your name. Some of our names are absolutely attached to some of the given names. Some of our birth names are attached to our purpose in the world. Some of us, we have to go internally and ask the ancestors what our names are so that we can understand what we are supposed to do. Listen. Because ultimately, I guess, and this leads right in to the few thoughts that I offered Abyssinian. Because ultimately, the purpose of the Lenten season is for deep reflection. Deep reflection about our mortality. Deep reflection about our beginnings and endings in the dust. The purpose of the Lenten season is for us to repent, to turn away from ways that are not conducive, I will say, to growth. Who better to assist with growth than our ancestors? So if you're looking to Jesus, then you should have no problem looking to your ancestors. Well, Irie, Dr. Irie said, is Jesus well? What came up for you? Did you ask the question? I mean, he was crucified, which is violent. So Irie's lifting up the notion that when folks who become ancestors are violently leave this realm, that they require our assistance in their healing. Wow. Hold on. I was getting ready to go, but hold on. Yeah, because Jesus would have never, Jesus would have never he could never have imagined, in my thinking, that we would have venerated him to the level we venerate him right now. And so I would venture to say that I'm going to say he is well now, because of how many people venerate and call his name. And his name, meaning God with us, Emmanuel. And when did Jesus heal? Let's take it to the clearing. I love it. So y'all, we're headed over to the clearing, which is where we engage more talk back to the text, like these questions that Irie is raising. And so if you want to join us over there, all you need to do is click this link. It'll take you to all the information you need to know. And over here, I'm going to put it in YouTube also. And just hit me with a little inbox. Let me know that you have signed up so that I can get you the email so that you can get the link to the clearing and come on over and join us. All right, y'all. See, those of you all who are coming at 11 Eastern time, or if you are in Central time at 10, meet us over on the Abyssinian Missionary Baptist Church Facebook page, where we will be with the people. I did. Oh, my bad. Yikes. Sorry. Thank you. I put the Abyssinian Mission. Okay. All right. Thank y'all. I love y'all. I told y'all I'm super sleepy. I'm so sleepy. Clipboard. My bad. Hold on, y'all. I put the wrong link in. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Jonetta. There you go. Okay. All right. It's so good to have been with you all today. Remember, we will not be meeting virtually next week. You never know though. If I get to my first little leg in time enough, I might find me a quiet spot and jump on. Probably won't be any clearing, but I might find me a quiet spot and jump on for the people, because I miss y'all. And I don't like to not be with y'all, and I don't like to not engage, and especially with the clearing and our subscription members. So